One new champion, two in-ring returns, and a day that is definitely not for Roman Reigns. We've got all that next, so just keep watching. Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay from parts unknown, but this is SmackDown from Barcelona, Spain, and we're always just keeping it real. So let's get to the matches, and always just keep finding the biggest failure as Braun Strowman freight trains everyone and then lands a running power slam on Tonga to pick up a win in a six-man tag. So Knight, Jimmy Uso, and Strowman are the ones, and it started with Big Jim interrupting Knight to try to get a US title match, but the new bloodline, if you want to still call them that, came out with Sikoa saying that Fatu deserves a shot instead and called Big Jim a failure, but he retorted by calling Sikoa the failure for losing that Ulafala. This of course caused all five men to brawl, and so we won't give out any STFs for this kind of fair fight, but it was made more fair when Strowman came out to clear the ring, so Nick Aldis then declared a six-man tag. So Knight, Jimmy, and Strowman pick up this win, so this random team goes to 1-0. While the new bloodline, again if you want to call them that, are the twos, because after losing Sikoa immediately, Samoan Spike Strowman for his third fine of the year, but Knight yanked his legs and those two brawled out into the crowd, and then Fatu took advantage of Strowman, who was on the mat, and landed two mighty moonsaults, and then decided to leave, but then came right back around to crunch him through the barricade. And this is not a failure of an opening match, so we'll give it an okay. Second, we just keep bowing down to the Queen as Charlotte Flair made good on her statement from last week by delivering a natural selection and then a figure eight to make B-Fab tap out. So Charlotte is the ones, and she made her presence felt early on with three big chops, and then she refused to let go of that figure eight after she had already won, so officials came out before she finally let go. But this will be her second fine. But since she didn't let go, Tiffany Stratton ran on out, and those two brawled and brawled and brawled. And of course, they just kept going without any regard for the security guards and WWE officials. So Charlotte elbowed, punched, and pushed a whole bunch of them, so she will pick up a 1-month suspension, which of course is her first suspension. But Tiffany Stratton then had a very nice swanton bomb off of the top rope, but it landed on top of Charlotte and a whole bunch of those guards and officials, so she also has to pick up a 1-month suspension, which is her third suspension. But when it looked like things were finally over, they were not, as they interrupted Miz TV and continued fighting with Tiffany, again getting the best of it with another swanton bomb off of the top of the Titantron, which was amazing, but also another 1-month suspension as she crashed into a whole bunch of security guards. So that will give her her fourth suspension of the year. But for the match itself, Charlotte does have her first match since December 8th of 2023. So she is 1-0 in those one-on-one matches, and B-Fab, she was mostly outclassed, which is not surprising against Charlotte, but she did nearly stun her with a big pump kick. However, she falls to 0-2 in one-on-one matches, and this is our second straight match with a post-match attack, and it's good to see Charlotte back, of course, so it gets an okay. Third, we just keep forgetting our own rule as Damian Priest does not attack Drew McIntyre on sight. So Priest, after hitting his South of Heaven chokeslam, does not get a pin because McIntyre attacks him, so it causes a DQ win for Priest. So Priest is the ones, and he paid for inciting McIntyre last week, and Nakamura joined in the beatdown with a Kinshasa to the back of Priest's head, but then he allowed McIntyre to pick the bones, throwing Priest into a barricade 2 different times, and then hit him with the steel steps. And just like Fatu did, he thought about leaving, but came right on back to hit a Claymore. So McIntyre will get a 1-month suspension for causing the DQ and for continuing that fight, which is his second suspension, and Nakamura picks up his second fine. But for Priest, he gets the win, so he's 3-0 in one-on-one matches. And Nakamura is the twos. He did not get much offense that we could see, because he probably got some in during the commercial break, but unfortunately, this is not how you follow up losing your US title, and he's 1-3 in one-on-one matches. So again, third straight match with a post-match brawl, but nothing to see here, folks. Double not okay. Fourth, we just keep messing with the voices as Randy Orton eats the first 48, but on wobbly legs somehow pulls out an RKO out of nowhere. So he gets a win in his first match since November 1st. And indeed, Orton is the one, as he looked like the Randy of old, with the side slam off the announce table and his draping DDT, and even an incredible reversal of a crossbody into his patented power slam. So he goes to 1-0 in 2025. But Carmelo Hayes is the 2s, and he had a nice springboard DDT, but that's about it, as he's back to 500 at 3-3-1. And again, he showed some smarts in the ring, but he was not smart after the match, as he refused to shake Orton's hand and instead pushed him right in the neck. So that caused Orton to retaliate with another RKO. And then Orton heard those voices line up for a punt, but Kevin Owens returned and very nicely pulled out Hayes to stop that punt, and then got the better of Orton briefly, throwing him into the ring post, but then he ran into the crowd. Well, this is indeed our fourth straight match with a post-match attack, but due to Orton's return looking as good as ever, he gets an okay. Fifth, we just keep being a one-man fraxium as Gunther nearly fractures Axiom's back with a powerbomb, clothesline powerbomb trifecta to end Axiom's upset bid. So Gunther is the one, and he called himself the greatest European wrestler of all time, and then called out Spain's best wrestler, which happens to be one half of your NXT Tag Team Champions, Axiom. But despite a little bit more resistance than he thought, Gunther eventually just had too much power, and he goes to 4-0 in one-on-one matches. That means Axiom is the 2s, and it is a tough week for him after also losing a chance to become a double Tag Team Champion. But he did have a nice Dragon Corkscrew Missile Dropkick combo, followed by a Hurricane Rana Golden Ratio combo, but that still was somehow not enough, so he goes to 0-1 on the main roster. But of course, Gunther could not let things go, and he locked in a sleeper until WWE officials came out to yet again show Jay who is the boss, but that will cause Gunther to get his 7th fine already of the year. And Gunther also tried to talk to Jimmy Uso to get Jay to step back from their match, but Jimmy, unfortunately, being the older brother, was not very smart and will keep Jay in the match by yeeting. So yeah, this was our 5th straight match with a post-match attack, getting a bit old at this point now, isn't it? Still, it was a strong in-ring battle for a match that really had no sense for happening in the first place. However, we'll be nice and give it an okay. And in our main event, we just keep seeing the heavens open up as Angelo Dawkins gets his prayers answered by somehow kicking out of a fairy tale ending super kick combo finisher, and found some energy to hit a spine buster and tag in Montez Ford so he could splash from the heavens, and we have a new WWE Tag Team Champion. And that means the Street Profits are the ones, and they also hit their super blockbuster, but they were rebuffed by Tommaso Ciampa, who also did everything that he could to prevent it from happening, but it still was not enough. So the Street Profits remain absolutely on fire, 7-1 in their last 8 traditional tags, but they are just 1-0 this year. So that means DIY is the 2s, and after that combo finisher, they still went for meat in the middle, but they were rebuffed by Dawkins, so they fall to a sad 1-2-2 in traditional tags, ending a 98-day tag reign that really only had 1 successful title defense, though it was 3 if you count those 2 no contests. Well, with 5 angry tag teams, you would think this would not be the one to not have a post-match attack, but that's where we're at. So we did have some strong in-ring action here, especially that ending, so it too will get an okay. And with that, let's go beyond the mat for SmackDown, with Kathy Kelly making a rare SmackDown appearance, and she interviewed Jade Cargill, earlier on, and Jade remembered seeing Naomi running away before things went black, but she said she didn't tell anyone because she needs to take things into her own hands. But Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez inexplicably showed up, even though there was nothing at all going on with the women's tag team division, and it was Liv who, of course, made fun of Jade, saying that she hopes that she doesn't get pushed into a car this week, but that will set up a one-on-one match between those next week. However, this will get a not okay. As we know, The Miz tried to have Miz TV, but Charlotte and Tiffy first interrupted it. However, he finally did get to introduce Cody Rhodes. The Messy King, however, was having none of it, as he did a very poor job representing the WWE, as he did not want to talk to The Miz, as he immediately attacked him, landing a crossroads. He then picked up the mic and said he didn't want to speak to anyone unless it were John Cena, saying that he hopes Cena joins on the road to WrestleMania, and if he wants to do so, Rhodes will be on Raw next week. This, of course, completely inappropriate for our champion, so it has to get a double not okay. Kathy Kelly also interviewed Chelsea Green, and Chelsea said that the Green administration is in full force, but Zelina Vega again interrupted, saying that she will be taking that title from her. Piper Niven then stepped up, saying that she first has to go through her. And Zelina, of course, agreed to this, so those two will have a one-on-one match next week. But we think that this is still a little soon for Zelina, so maybe, just maybe, if she beats Piper and then also beats Alba Fire to beat both members of the Hervis, then perhaps Zelina might just get that US title match. But for now, it's still a little bit too soon, so it gets a not okay. Paul Heyman declared it to be Roman Reigns Day because it is the day where WWE 2K25 was officially released, and he said that if anyone has a problem with that, they can show up to SmackDown next week, where Roman Reigns will actually appear. Now, I have to say it's been quite a while since Roman appeared on SmackDown. In fact, November 22nd was his last appearance, which was 15 SmackDowns ago, and since this is the show that he's supposed to show up on, that is just getting really, really pathetic here. Now, Heyman, I see that you are indeed a jokester, but the joke is simply not funny, so it gets a double not okay. And lastly, there were two mysterious vignettes, first with an unknown luchador, and second, merely seeing the number 4, and I don't know what those are about, but it is a little surprising to see them this close to WrestleMania, but I guess it is at least a little bit interesting, so we'll give it an okay. So the Profits win is our second title change in 2 weeks on SmackDown, and fourth title change on the main roster in 3 weeks, so the road to WrestleMania has certainly been turned upside down, and if you want to see who I think should be up next for each of the titles, be sure to go right on over here and check that out. And if you do, just like another hot European crowd, that would certainly be okay.